Hi, everyone. It's 4 o'clock in New York on the fourth day of what's already been nominated for the worst week of Donald Trump's presidency. A bombshell with something for everyone. A Trump lie so big that the Trump family and their lawyer appear to be in on it. A national security threat so dire that two of the most senior West Wing advisors warned against it. And the new hallmark of a Trump scandal, contemporaneous memos chronicling the transgression. In this case, the story involved the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his pursuit of a security clearance. Turns out there was never an all clear given to Jared. There was never a decision that Jared Kushner could be trusted with the nation's most sensitive secrets. From that New York Times scoop, quote, President Trump ordered his chief of staff to grant his son-in-law and senior advisor, Jared Kushner, a top-secret security clearance last year, overruling concerns flagged by intelligence officials and the White House's top lawyer. 4 people briefed on the matter said Trump's decision in May so troubled senior administration officials that at least one, the White House chief of staff at the time, John Kelly, wrote a contemporaneous internal memo about how he had been, quote, ordered to give Kushner the top-secret clearance. The White House counsel at the time, Don McGahn, also wrote an internal memo outlining the concerns that had been raised about Kushner, including by the CIA, and how McGahn had recommended that he not be given a top-secret clearance. This reporting also reveals a network of coordinated lies.
Do you tell General Kelly or anyone else in the White House to overrule security officials, the career?
No, I don't think I have the authority to do that. I'm not sure I do, but I wouldn't do it. Jared's a good. I was never involved with the security.
The president had no involvement pertaining to my clearance or my husband's clearance. Zero.
What were the problems early on?
There weren't any.
So no special treatment?
No.
There was nobody in the political process that had anything to do with it. There was nobody who pressured it. It was just done the normal, regular way.
And in case you forgot how harshly the Republicans treat liars, here they are.
You're a pathological liar.
He's going to prison for lying to Congress, and he's the star witness to Congress.
A convicted liar, lying to Congress.
Apparently, he even lied about delivering his own child, which his wife had to correct the record of.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
You know, it's just one more example, Mr. Cohen, of you skirting the truth.
No word yet from any of those men on the big Trump lie about Jared. We're joined now by some of our favorite reporters and friends, including one of the reporters on that Times report, Adam Goldman. Matt Miller's also here, a former chief spokesman at the Department of Justice, former chief of staff to Vice Presidents Joe Biden and Al Gore. Ron Klain is back. And joining us here on set, former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance is here. Matt Miller, let me start with you because I feel like you and I have been having this conversation about Jared Kushner. You and I have both been through, actually, and Ron Klain probably has too, through the background check process. It's something that most people, and I hate to use the word normal, but normal White House staffers take as seriously as a heart attack. The fact that Jared Kushner never was ever cleared, and the problems with his background check so dire that the White House chief of staff wrote a memo. I think this is the first report of a memo. The White House chief of staff, White House counsel also getting himself on the record, at least internally, objecting to Jared's clearance.
Yeah, it's an alarming action by the president. Obviously, the career officials who conduct these investigations conduct thorough investigations, and they make their decisions based on the facts and based on evidence. And the president obviously has the authority to overrule those decisions. It's something I've never heard of a president doing in the past, but he does have the authority. But if he's going to do that, he ought to be honest with the American public and tell them that's what he's doing. And that's obviously not what you've seen here. You played all those clips from the president, from Ivanka, from Jared's lawyer, all of them not telling the truth about what happened here. And they didn't tell the truth because they knew what the president did was inappropriate. And I think that shows, that raises the question, why couldn't they just be honest with the American public? And it raises this broader discussion about how the president repeatedly has pushed back against any constraints on his behavior. Any part of the government that is governed by rules, by due process, he has pushed on it and looked to reward his cronies and retaliate against his enemies, and I think that's what you see here.
Adam Goldman, take us through what you and your colleagues are reporting, and take us through what some of the concerns were about Jared Kushner in the background clearance investigation process.
Well, you know, early on when Jared was struggling to get his security clearance, when they had botched the 2 FS-86s, you know, the security forms they fill out, you know, we started hearing rumblings about other concerns, classified concerns, concerns about his contacts with the Saudis, the Israelis, and the Russians and the Emiratis. So we kept digging and digging, and, you know, then ultimately in May of 2018, you know, Kushner's lawyer, Abby Lowe, gets out there and says, hey, everything's fine. Just hunky-dory. You know, the process is normal. We didn't buy that for a minute. And, you know, we just continued to report. And then, you know, probably a few weeks ago, you know, Maggie Haberman, the force that she is, got a tip that the president ordered these clearances. And then we had a chance to interview Trump. The story wasn't fully baked, but we conferred and we thought, why not ask Trump the question? Let's just put it to him. And I mean, it wasn't a gotcha moment. We weren't trying to trap him. We just thought maybe he'll just tell us. And because, you know, he can be, sometimes he can be unusually open. And we put it to him, and we were surprised by his response. But we also realized it raised the bar of putting this story out. And then my other colleagues, Mike Schmidt and Annie Carney, came in, and we got this thing over the edge. And as I tweeted, you know, we live in the age of contemporaneous memos. I'm a big fan of them. I did the reporting on the 25th Amendment and the wire comments that Rod Rosenstein made, the Deputy Attorney General. So we knew there was something out there we needed to get a handle on. There were knowable facts in these memos.
It's such a fascinating peek inside your process. And you're right, there was a bold-faced lie told to Maggie Haberman and your publisher and Peter Baker's face. And I'm sure for all of you, that's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. But I want to press a little bit on the CIA's role, because when I was vetted, when Ron and Matt were vetted, the FBI does the background check. They bring any concerns that come up in the vet to White House officials, a security office, and then they get quickly bounced in a normal White House again to a White House counsel or a chief of staff. None of those guardrails held, and it was the CIA that was raising concerns. What kinds of contacts and questions did the CIA have about Jared Kushner?
We don't have full visibility into that. That's something we continue to report on. But whatever concerns the CIA had, they were deep, and they were not to be dismissed. The Office of Security at the agency is not an office to be with, and they weren't going to be overruled, and they stood their ground. So whatever they thought the problem was to give Jared TS-SCI, they weren't going to give ground on it, and they made that clear. And they made that clear to the White House. So that in itself is extraordinary.
Ron Klain, I don't know that people that haven't been vetted understand the significance of what Adam Goldman just detailed. It is not standard for the CIA to be the agency that stands in the way of any staffer in the government getting a clearance, for the problems to have been ignored and disregarded, and to have gotten to the point where the agency said to a man who is known to text with other world leaders, you cannot have the most classified material in our possession, is something extraordinary. Do you think that with the committees looking into other issues, do you think we'll get to the bottom of what it is that makes Jared Kushner a threat if he were to possess our top secrets?
Yeah, you know, I do think that's the question, Nicole. I mean, that is, there's a lot of focus on the lies and the lies about it, and I understand why there's focus on the lies about it. But to me, what you just asked is the interesting question. What about Jared Kushner is so wrong, is so unsafe that you cannot trust him with this information? After all, surely the CIA knew they were under pressure to get to yes on his background check. Kushner had an interim clearance for 18 months. He was getting a lot of secret information. And to go to the White House and say, hey, you can't grant him a permanent clearance, and then to have two of the president's trusted aides, John Kelly and Don McGahn, agree and say he shouldn't get a clearance, there must be something very, very scary there, very bad there, about either foreign influence, about recklessness in handling this information. And I hope our focus on the lies is important, but we need to get to the bottom of what Jared Kushner has done that makes him such a security threat.